dedicated to each and every one of you who appreciate a great glass of wine. You know what I mean?
It's Monday. Let's raise a glass to the beginning of another week. It's time to unscrew, uncork, or saber a bottle, and let's begin exploring the wine glass. Today, I'm sharing a glass with Adam Montiel. Remember when you were in high school and there was that kid who knew everyone? That one person who was always at the center of the cool parties, but at the same time never acted like he was that cool guy? Well, that's Adam. Adam Montiel has lived on the Central Coast for almost 20 years and has been a big supporter of the local scene. We sit down and discuss all things Paso Robles, including our favorite places to visit and his own podcast, Where Wine Takes You. There is a little name dropping and a lot of laughing. Give a big shout out to Josh.harp.does.wine for leaving this 5-star review. I had the privilege of being a guest on the podcast. Lori does an amazing job of revealing the side of winemaking that customers don't always get to see and winemakers love to talk about. She is a natural interviewer and her podcasts have great energy and are very educational. Thank you, Josh. Your kind words mean so much to me. I loved having you on the podcast, and you are always welcome to return for more conversation, and I look forward to tasting with you in the vineyards.
Oh, yeah.
Hey everybody, I'm Lori Budd, a UC Davis winemaking program, someday service, champagne specialist, and WSET Level 2 graduate. You can find Exploring the Wine Glass on all the socials, as well as your favorite podcast catchers. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to swipe, subscribe, rate, and review. I promise I'll never tell you what to drink, but I'll always share what's in my glass.
Turn right into wine.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Allure of the Poor, sponsored by Dracaena Wines. I am your host, Lori Budd, owner of Dracaena Wines, Som Service certified, UC Davis winemaker. I don't know, I forget them. So, WSET level 2. And there's something else in there. Oh, champagne specialist. And was that champagne you were drinking?
No, this is Peak Pool that we made.
Oh, okay. So that voice right there.
Damn, I didn't know I was talking to such, like, I'm a little intimidated now. Damn.
No. You know what? There's just, I like to torture myself with, like going to school, whatever. I'm stupid.
Good for you. That's cool.
But this voice, ladies and gentlemen, this voice is Adam Montiel, and I am thrilled to have him on the show today because I listen to him all the time and he cracks me up. And honestly, if you want anything low down, know about Paso Robles, he is the guy. So welcome, Adam. Welcome.
Thank you, Lori, so much for having me on. I'm really excited to be here.
So, all right, right off the bat, tell me about that pick pool.
Okay, so my girlfriend and I, she had a Wrath Felangina years ago that had some skin contact on it. And when I had the opportunity to get my hands on some grapes, I was interviewing a couple different people right before the harvest of 2018. And we had a chance to get some white wine. And she's like, I've always wanted to do skin contact on a white, like those white tannins, that mouthfeel, that kind of, that whole like phenolic, like you can, with a white wine, but not an orange wine. Do it with a white, little skin contact, just a little bit, So I had, through my friends at Halter Ranch and the great Lucas Pope at the time. I love Lucas now, Haleotide, he and his wife. And of course, he's just a rock star, vineyard manager. But he was able to get me a half a ton of Halter Ranch Peak Pool. Now, this was right as they were, ramping up their sparkling Peak Pool production. So all the other contracts that they had for Peak Pool, Libertine Pub was getting some of it for a sour they were making. Like other people were getting their Peak Pool. They canceled them all. I was able to get like a little half-ton macro bin. And Audrey and I, we did it 24 hours, skin contact, hand sorted it, and we made it at Desperata with the great Valia From. She and her team are unbelievable. Yes, open arms, open hearts, open cellar. And they were just like, make it here, let's try it. And I asked a ton of people for advice and it turned out good. I'm really happy with it.
All right,
It turned
very
out great.
nice.
I gotta get you a bottle of it. So for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love pick pole. Like it's known as the stinger because it's an
Yeah.
acid freak, and I am
Yeah.
an acid head, man. I love it. And you know what? It's starting to get a little bit more in Paso. You're starting to see it a little bit more and more in Paso. I don't know if he's making it anymore, but I think the first person that I tried a pick pool from in Paso was Steve Gleason in Four Lanterns.
Yeah.
And I know he was like planting pick pole, so I'm assuming he's still making it. But
Hmm. Yeah, I like
yeah,
Steve. I like those wines too. That's fun.
yeah. So a little story about Steve. I know him because we have a Weimaraner, and we're originally from New Jersey, and we used to host these events for a rescue group in New Jersey called Wine and Cheese instead of Wine and Cheese. And we would pour wine for the people. They would pay like $25 to the charity, to the rescue group. We never saw a penny of it. They just donated it right to them. And then we opened up our house for a party. I mean, whatever, we're gonna throw a party. So they would come, and Steve's niece rescued a Weimaraner from that group. So
Oh,
she
cool.
came, yeah, she came to my house, and she's playing with it was our first Weimaraner, Draco, and she's playing with him, and she's like, and we're like, oh yeah, well, we make wine in Paso. She's like, my uncle is in Paso. And we're like, who, and so that's how we met Steve, and we've been, friends ever since. It's like it's wonderful. So
That's so cool.
yeah, yeah.
Paso has Paso has so many stories like that, right?
Yep. Yep. And that, I mean, I didn't, we'll get into it later, but like your now wine, the podcast Where Wine Takes You for the Paso Alliance. That's what I absolutely love, because every episode you're like, the Paso people, the Paso people. Every episode of mine, when I talk to somebody from Paso, I'm like, the Paso people, the Paso people.
Yeah.
They're incredible. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry, there's nowhere else. It is nowhere
You're
else.
you're absolutely right. With the Cork Dorks, we've done shows everywhere from, Napa, Bordeaux, Anderson Valley, Dry Creek. We've done things in hotels in San Francisco for Zap. I mean, we've done shows all over the place. And you can tell there's some great places. There's some great regions, and California is so blessed with the wine regions that it has here. But the people are such an important recipe. Like, yeah, there's world-class wine in Napa, in Sonoma, here, there, Anderson Valley, Sierra Foothills, whatever, right?
Right.
But the people are so incredible in Paso, and the way they all kind of work together, and in the way, like, it started kind of like with the old schoolers, like, Gary Eberly and stuff like that, and then the newer guard like adopts that, like, hey, we're gonna put Paso first.
Right.
And if Paso doesn't succeed, we're not going to succeed. And every kind of generation plays into that. And I mean, now we have so many, we got a bunch of cool kids. We got wines that are going for a lot of money. We got cult wines. We got our standards. Like, Gary's still winning a ton of awards with his wines. I mean, like, it's really neat. And again, the people of Paso are such an important ingredient to all of this, that just kind of like bring it all together.
Okay. So when we first started producing Dresita wines, we were getting fruit off of the west side. And we found out that Dark Star was getting fruit right by us, right? So we were like, all right, we're gonna go into stealth mode, because we're Jersey, we're New York people, right? So you go different, So like, all right, we're gonna go into stealth mode, and we're gonna go to Dark Star, and we're gonna taste their cab, and their Cab Franc, and see what's this Cab Franc taste like, because it's gonna let us know kind of what our Cab Franc is gonna taste like, right? And so we go in, and we were tasting the Cab Franc, and by the way, it was like stellar. It was like so good, right?
I love a good Cab Franc.
Right. And so we go, all right, this is good. And we're talking to the woman behind the counter, and it turns out that, and I forget her name, but it was the owner, the wife, right? And she's like, we told her what was going on. This is our first vintage making Cab Franc. We're on the west side, blah, 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 And she's like, hold on. And she goes in the back, gets on her cell phone, don't know who she's talking to, comes back 2 seconds later and says, Norm's going to come in. I'm like, Norm's coming in. She's like, yeah, he's in the vineyards right now, but he's working, but he's going to stop. Here comes Norm on the tractor coming in, right? Norm sat down and told us everything we needed to know about that vineyard site. What to do, what not to do, what to make sure we tell the owner what to do, what not to do. You know, the little hints of, well, you know, she likes to do this. Don't let her do that. You do this. Yeah. And that's Cab Franc versus Cab Franc, right? And that's the thing about Paso. There is no verses. There is no verses in
that story is so illustrative of what you just put so well. There is no verses. That's so true.
There is not. Everybody wants to help everybody, and you hear it all the time, and you say it on your podcast. You know, it's the rising ship mentality. You know, it's you know, like you said, Paso first, and then, you know, we'll kick ass individually.
Right. Is there a funnier phrase than the rising tide raises all the boats? Because it's one of those phrases where you can have your conversation with somebody 10 different times where that is brought up, and it is said 10 different ways. And some people like get halfway through the saying and they're like, the tide and the boats, you know, like they all go up. You're like, yes, I got you.
I know what you're saying.
But it's so many, because it's the one saying that's like, you know, kill two birds with one stone. It's like, that's said the same way every time. But the rising tide raises all the boats. I mean, it's always said differently. It's so funny.
Half the time I switch ships and tide.
Yeah, exactly.
The rising ships all the tide. Yeah, whatever. You know what I mean.
All I do now is I go, ship, tide.
Yeah.
That's all I do.
We all go up. That's all that matters.
We all go up.
Yeah. We all go up. We all go up. Well, I am drinking, since you talked me into it. I have a little Cab Franc there.
Cool.
A little Cab Franc.
You like your Cab Franc like Pirozzini and kind of a little green, or not at all? How do you like your Cab Franc?
So we produce our Cab Franc. I'm drinking myself here. So.
Oh, cool.
Right. So.
Oh, look at that Weimaraner on the front.
Yes. So that is Draco. Right. So Draco, the whole winery is named after him. Draco is named after the constellation of the Dragon Souls. And so when we wanted to do the winery name, we knew we wanted it to be Draco, but we stayed away from Constellation, because not that we ever thought we would fall under Constellation's radar, but, you know, better safe than sorry. So we wanted nothing to do with Constellation. So my husband is actually a food chemist, and I am a microbiologist. So we're science dorks. And so we wanted the winery to be named after us and him. So Dracaena is actually the name of the tree that he's standing in front of. So that's a Draco tree.
Okay.
So Draco, genus name, science dorks, Dracaena. So that's
got it.
That's where
that's cool. From. I like that.
But to answer your question, no, we are not Loire Valley fans. We think Pyrazine is okay. You know, it's a Cab Franc, so, you know, it's okay to have that Pyrazine in there. But ours is not pure. Bell pepper is not the first thing you're going to get. In fact, one of the reasons why we chose the site that we chose is because of how the orientation is. The fruit comes from Plummer Vineyard on Welsona, so over by J. Lore.
Right.
It's angled like 8 degrees off of what normally would be. So it actually helps prevent too much sunlight to give the pyrazines. So
yeah, Cab Franc is an interesting grape. It's a lot of fun when it's done. You know, it's kind of like Petit Syrah for me. I know everybody's different, and that's what's so cool about wine. Everybody can be a little different. This is just from like the stuff that I've been, hopefully, you know, you figure you probably hear like X amount through like the whole 10 years of doing Cork Dorks and now with the podcast. And gosh, if I could just keep like 5% of that, I would be so happy. But no, the Cab Francs are so unique, and whether it's, you know, is it hillside? Is it in the valley? Is it in a place where, you know, it's susceptible to shatter? Is it you know, what is going on with Cab Franc? But man, when it is done right, that and Petit Syrah to me, it feels like it's a smaller percentage of them, but when you taste one that is, you're just like, oh, that is good.
Yeah, we fell in love with Cab Franc a long time ago. We actually were up in Napa William Harrison. We were at their tasting room, and the person behind the counter was like, "Oh, we have this extra wine. Do you want to taste it?" And I'm like, whoever says no to that store, like if you get asked, "Do you want a glass?" No, no. So we tasted it, and that was it. We fell in love. That was it. And so then we were on a mission to find Cab Francs, and there really are not a lot out there. So when we started the winery, we were like, you know what? We're going to make Cab Franc because we love Cab Franc. And then we found Paso, and, I think the fruit is incredible. This one just got a 92. We've gotten 90 plus ratings every vintage. So I guess it's pretty good Cab Franc in Paso.
Good for you. Yeah, Paso can get it there. Yeah. And kudos to you for a 92 on your Cab Franc. I can't wait to try it sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to, I've got my first shot. We're getting closer to be in real life here. We're getting there.
Well, I will trade you a bottle of the Peak Pool for a bottle of the Cab Franc.
Sold.
It's funny because the Peak Pool is in this.
Let's see it. Oh, okay.
Yeah. No label yet. No, the label's pretty dope, but this is a shiner of it right now. But Avelia had these Ego bottles, so it's a Cab bottle, but it's very, very heavy.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, like. When it's empty, it feels full. So she just was able to, because of a surplus, able to gift me these for the 22 cases that we made.
Nice.
So I'm like, we're gonna put our Peak Pool in like these huge Ego like heavy ass bottles. Oh, it is so funny. It's something because you get to the bottom, you're like, oh no, there's a lot in there.
Yeah. Wait a second. Right. So how big's the punch on that thing? Can your whole thumb go in there?
Yeah, it's like. Yeah, it's up to there. No joke. Right.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Yes, I am a Peak Pool fan, so I will definitely do that. So let's talk a little bit about you, because honestly, whenever you talk Paso to Paso people, your name comes up. You are in the know of you're like in the center of Paso. And I mean, Gary Eberly, he rips you, man. You guys must have an awesome relationship.
Yeah, we do. We're good. I had lunch with him on, actually, Audrey and I went and had brunch with him on Sunday, just a few days back. So yeah, he's a special dude. I really, really enjoy his company, and he's very smart. And I just love Gary.
He, Godfather of Paso, or whatever he's incredible. And even before, I guess I think we were already producing the wine, but we were going to Eberly all the time. And one day he was sitting outside like he often does. And I get out of the car and I say to my husband, like, that's Gary. And I have an uncle named Gary, and my husband's like, "What do you mean Gary's here?" I'm like, "No, Gary Eberly," And so we joke because I don't get ooh ah over movie stars, like whatever, I can see them, whatever. But athletes, I get I'm like, oh my God, athletes, right? So when you put athlete and incredible winemaker together, it's like overkill for me. So I went up to him. I was the dork. I went up to him like, "Can I get a picture with you?" And it's one of my favorite pictures. I have it. He's sitting there. He's got his arm. Cool. He's got his arm around me. I've got a smile from ear to ear, and I'm like, all the time. I love. He's just an incredible individual. His heart is so big, it's not even funny. He really is.
He's really special. I got a lot of stories about him, and I've always loved learning from him. And then they did that documentary on him. I don't know if you've seen the Full Bore documentary.
No.
But it's really, really good. It was put together by some very talented young producers in Paso or on the Central Coast. And it was in the Film Fest. Was it 2019? And man, they did such a good job. And I was really touched that they asked me to speak in it a little bit. And so they would put little blurbs of me throughout the documentary. And it was just really neat. So then Gary texts me about a week and a half ago, and he's like, "Did you see that you were in the Wine Enthusiast video?" Or da-da-da-da. I'm like, "What? Like, what are you talking about?" Well, Gary just got given a huge award that they don't do all the time. It's the Legends Award with the Wine Enthusiast thing. So he just got the Legends Award like just a couple weeks ago. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's so neat. So, and then he got the Mondavi Award about a
Mhm.
year ago, which like nobody in the wine industry gets. I mean, it's like it's so cool. But it's like hospitality, but like he's only one. Or then we got the California Hospitality Award, which only he and Mondavi got.
Right.
So he's just getting all these like legacy awards right now. And in the wine enthusiast package, they showed some of the Full Bore movie, which had me in it, and he was giving me some shit for it. It was great. I couldn't have been happier for him. Well deserved. He's great.
He really is an incredible person.
Mm-hmm.
But so we got to talk about you a little bit. So
Go ahead.
you came to the Central Coast in 2003. Where are you originally from?
Agora Hills is where I grew up. It is a suburb, probably the northernmost suburb of LA County.
Right. Okay.
And so grew up in Southern California, moved here in, like you said, 2003, doing part-time radio. Also just kind of getting into wine at that point. I worked part-time at a wine bar downtown Paso at the time called Vinoteca.
Oh, okay.
And it sits where now La Cosecha sits. And La Cosecha is fantastic. So it was a fun time, and I knew nothing about wine, and I literally would use my theater background to bullshit my way through wine. Like, oh, nights, and just try and sell wine and just be. I love people. I love connecting with people, so that was easy. But yeah, it was the Vinoteca days were really really fun, and that's when I had my first wine that was just like
your aha wine.
And I remember what it was. Yeah, it was a vertical flight of 97, 98, 99 of J. Lore's Cuvée series. They have the series that does like the Saint E.
Yes. Oh my God, POM, I love the Saint E. Yes.
Pomerol, and then the PAU for Pauillac. And I tried the vertical flight of that, and I was just like, damn, like, because I never, my dad drank wine, a little wine here and there, like a glass a night or something, but I never like got into it. But man, when I had that, I'm like, oh, there's something to this. And then it just like, of course, when it happens, like it did to
snowball effect.
It's just like, it's over, and super cool.
Yeah. Well, that's a hell of a wine to start off as your aha. That's killer. That that Cuvée series, and which when people say, oh, J. Lore, I'm like, no, you're tasting J. Lore that you buy in
Seven Oaks.
Yeah, you're tasting that, which is a good wine for what is it, $12 or whatever.
Yeah,
if that,
yeah.
I mean, it's a good wine. But no. Like because like people always call, and I'm sure you get the same thing. I'm coming to Paso. What winery should I go to? Right. And I always say J. Lore as one of them. Like, oh no, I get that all the time. I'm like, no.
Right. No.
Yes, you're drinking that, and it's a wonderful wine, but that's a different level of wine than what J. Lore is serving in their tasting room. Like the Carroll vineyard, that that whole thing with the breast cancer, those wines are incredible. The Chardonnay, and I always say it wrong. My husband laughs at me all the time. It's the night. No, the night one. Night Star. Night. It's got evening or evening dew or evening dusk or something like that. I don't know. And then every so often they have some like out of the freaky ones. They had a Valdegay last year. I was like, oh my God, nobody has that. That's incredible,
Right.
So I always send them.
And their winemaker's good. I interviewed their winemaker, the director of winemaking. I guess there's this technical title, Steve Peck. But I mean, here is a dude who is like beyond brilliant, so fun. And this is like the first season of Cork Works where I literally know nothing about wine. Now I still maintain I don't, but I've been lucky enough to interview all these people and like talk to people even like you that know much more than I do, that I pick from, and I'm gonna remember that later on. Steve Peck is one of those dudes where just so smart and so giving with his personality and knowledge that you're like, oh my gosh, like any chance you can talk or to this guy, like do it. Like I'll see him at an event, I go, I gotta go stand next to him, I gotta talk to him, like just have a couple seconds with Steve Peck. Like he's awesome, he's great.
So,
And the family too. Like, of course,
oh
Steve,
yeah,
Cynthia, Jerry. Like, I mean, they're all just so good for Paso. And I remember when I went to we were in Bordeaux, and they just opened that wine like museum, like
oh
see
yeah,
then.
yeah,
It's beautiful. And on
it's incredible.
the bottom floor, one of the lower floors, they have like the largest wine shop like on earth,
Yes.
and wine from all over the world. It's just like to take it all in, like, oh my God, there's a trillion bottles of wine around me. And then they highlight all the countries.
Mm-hmm.
And at this time, I'm sure it's something that they rotate, but at this time I go up there and I'm like, oh my God, it's
Yeah.
Justin and J-Lore for
J-Lore.
America. I was like,
Yes.
that's so cool.
Yep.
It was really,
Yep.
really neat.
Yeah. So it was the same thing. So I was honored enough. My blog won the Melissa May Award. So I was a guest of Bordeaux. Actually, I was a guest of Clerc Millon to go during En Premiere Week. So treated like royalty, like it was incredible. I just was like, oh my God. Almost got fired from my day job because I was in France when I was supposed to be in school. But also, I so would have been worth it anyway.
Oh yeah. Oh, I got fired from my my wine job at Vinoteca because of I got a chance to go to Neverland, Michael Jackson's ranch in Santa Barbara. I've been a Michael Jackson fan forever. I'm like, by the way, I'm not coming into work today. Whatever happens, happens. Like, I'm in Neverland.
So I
No,
gotta
I
get.
totally know. I mean,
I get the Bordeaux. I mean, I had a week in Bordeaux a day.
yeah, but I mean, Bordeaux, like, what a fun city
Yeah.
that was, right?
And that museum is incredible. And I did the same thing. I took pictures. I'm like, look at this, man. They are saying United States, and we got Paso, baby.
I love it.
And then we do. We have I guess it's a timeshare-esque type thing we have a timeshare type thing in Cancun. And there is a very nice Italian restaurant on the property, and the wines suck. They're so bad. And then you go, look, and then there's J-Lore and there's Justin again, right? You've got all these crappy wines, right? And you got two incredible Paso wines making it all the way to Cancun.
I love that. What a great story.
Yeah. But so tell me, you have a background in theater, and then how do you get into radio? Is that what you wanted to do? Did you want to be an actor and then you're like, okay, well, acting is kind of radio, or is that nothing?
Yeah, well, I knew I wanted to do TV or radio. I loved radio. Like, ever since I was a little kid, I would take the dual cassette deck and I would play the music on one side, record my voice into the music. Like, I would finagle a way to make radio shows as a kid, and all the way. And then I would always call radio stations. Growing up, I grew up in LA, so I would call Kiss FM, KLOS, K Rock, like all of them, right?
K
And
Rock.
I'd ask the DJ, hey, can you put me on the air? Can you do this, whatever? Power 106, 92.3 The Beat, and I just loved radio. And based on the age of where I was growing up and where radio was and where TV was, I knew that if I wanted to express more of my personality and have more of my personality get out there, it was likely going to be done through radio, not TV. Now, mind you, a little bit after I got into radio started turning away from personality driven radio and like just the music. So I was like, okay, well, you always kind of, especially in this business, you're always kind of like working with it, finagling it, and kind of like, malleable and trying to like roll with the punches of things. And I just always loved radio. And then morning radio, I knew I would have to get into, because morning radio, it's not just like, hey, that was Vanessa Carlton, here is, Justin Bieber or whatever. Right. You're able to kind of like, express more of yourself. You're the anchor of the station. You have the ability to kind of like, take calls. You're engaging with the audience. You're doing fun stuff. I mean, I do a lot of like, some of the cooler things that I do, like our breaking and entering Christmas, where we find a family that's not going to have a Christmas and like explode Christmas in their house without them knowing. Like, you can do philanthropic things through morning radio. Yeah, so like morning radio was just like, this is where we got to do it. And you listen to like Howard Stern, and whether it's like the people who are very gregarious and like edgy, to the people who are very like music oriented and kind of pure, like a Ryan Seacrest. I just knew that I wanted to get into that space somehow. So came up here and worked part-time in radio with that kind of knowledge. Like I loved the Central Coast, and I knew that in radio you bounce from market to market each
Right.
year. And I saw some people do that here and use the Central Coast as a stepping stone, and they were always sad to leave. And none of them ended up like in New York or LA or like a major market. It peters out after a while, and I go, God, if I want to stay here, I'm gonna need to be the best here. Like, and I'm not saying I am, but I'm saying I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. Like, I'm gonna connect to this community. I'm gonna like anchor myself. I'm gonna learn about what they love. I'm gonna try and like reflect that back to the audience. Like, I want to like, but like do it in an authentic way.
Right.
And when I got my first morning show gig, it started going really good. And then, of course, in radio, I've worked at different places, different radio stations here, and then settled on the place I'm at now. It's been about 10, going on my 11th year for Up and Adam in the Morning, which is on a station now called Coast 104.5. And then, of course, the Crush 92.5, the Cork Dorks, things like that. Also, we're in our 10th year. And it's been really cool. I love radio, but also like to take this new love of wine and figure out how I can take my long love with radio and mix it with this new love, you know, with wine. And what can it do? And that's where like the Cork Dorks came from, and that's where all of this came from, and building these relationships with the local wine scene here, and people like you and winemakers like Gary, or wine owners like Gary Eberly, and wine, Saxum, this, whatever it is, just trying to entrench and get to know these people and really become part of the community, and not just
Right.
with the radio and my love for radio, but now with my love for the local wine scene here.
And now, a word from our sponsor. Looking to be in the know about Dracaena wines? Want to be the first to know about our new releases and special offers? All you need to do is sign up for our newsletter. There is no commitment necessary, and I promise you we won't spam your mailbox with loads of messages. Need another reason to sign up? Quite possibly the best reason? You'll immediately get a discount code for 10% off your first purchase and be privy to newsletter-only discounts. Let Dracaena Wines turn your moments into great memories. Visit our website, www.dracaenawines.com, or use the link in show notes to sign up. It will take you less than a minute, but the rewards will last a lifetime. Yeah, it is incredible. It is. So going back to the cork dorks, how did that come about? Was that your idea? Was that somebody else's idea?
So I was the program director of a talk station in Santa Maria, and Jeremy, who I do the Cork Dork show with, we had worked together when I was at American General Media. I was on the morning show at K-Jug for a while, and then left for a minute. And I was working at this talk station, KSMX in Santa Maria. We had our new love for wine, and I was like talking to like Chris Toronto from the Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance at the time, and he's still there. He's amazing.
Uh-huh.
And like, hey, how can we do some more interviews? Like, we just loved diving deep into the wine industry. And after I left that group, American General Media brought me back up to them and started Up and Adam in the Morning, as well as this new station called The Crush, that they were kind of pivoting into this like wine thing. And I was telling Jeremy, like, I was doing these shows and like these interviews, and it was a lot of fun. We were going wine tasting together, and we thought, God, if we could combine our love for radio. I mean, he's a radio geek like I am, and has a very successful show on, the rock station up here. If we could combine our love for radio and our new love for wine, wouldn't this be a lot of fun to do? Wouldn't this be incredible? We were standing up on the hill at Opolo, and there was a sales guy there who's not there anymore, but he was just treating us like royalty and we're just like, oh my God, you're looking at these vineyards. You're like, what is going on? Our mind is blown. And so I went and pitched the idea to the program director of The Crush, and he was like, okay, call it Cork Dorks and you can do it. I'm like, okay, like honestly, you can call it whatever you
Call
want.
whatever
Like
you
I was
want.
like, it's a very clever name. People love the name, whatever. But that's how it came about. And then Jeremy and I have been doing it, for 10 years, as of harvest of 2020. And it's been a blast. We've gone to so many cool places, learned so much, and it's really where all the relationships that I have in the wine community came from. So it's incredible.
That is amazing, and I do think that that's true. When you talk and going back to Paso being different, that's the difference. That's another difference. Is that when you're in Paso, you're talking to the people who are behind the wine. You're not
Yeah,
talking to a person who got. I mean, they hire people. I'm not saying that, but like when you're there, the owner is there, the winemaker is there, which is usually the same person.
yeah,
All of that. It's you're talking to the people who are behind the story, and they're much more concerned about who they hire. Like I said, I was talking to Jim Maroney, and he was like, we are one on one. And we hire fun people. Like, we want you to enjoy wine, so we hire people who are fun. And you think of Tobin James, right? Those people, right? Like, how he hires his people that are pouring, like, they're not just people off the street that, like, yeah, this is my job. They're into it, and they need to be able to have fun because, I mean, honestly, Tobin James is probably the most fun place you can, you
yeah.
know.
He's another one that I love. Toby has been so kind to me and so good, and what he was able to start, and of course Lance and Claire, what they've been able to all turn that brand and evolve into. It's so special for Paso, and I mean his parties are like, stop it, like
Yeah, I have yet
they
to be to a
rival.
party. Maybe I can be your plus one, two, whatever,
Yeah,
next
well, no,
party.
well, I'll get you into the when we get back together and stuff. The next industry party, you definitely belong there. I'll make sure that you are, and it'll blow your mind. Just be ready and have a
Yeah.
driver.
I will. I mean, the parties are, from what I understand, legendary, right? And of all the wineries, like think in the United States, he has the highest club membership of any winery in the United States. Like it's out of
Yeah, I did the
control.
math one time and I forgot what it was. I was talking to a girl actually at Via Creek recently because she used to work at Tobin James, and I was talking to her about like I heard like the shipments and the numbers and all that. I was doing the math. I'm like, wow, like every wine club shipment, that's it's millions. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy. And but they treat everyone so well when they come in.
Hmm.
And the wines, like they have your up like J-Lord. They have
Right.
the entry level ones, they have the upper echelon ones, and Toby is just such a sweet and good man. And yeah, and as is Lance and Claire, they're fantastic people as well. And it's a cool brand. I mean, Paso is certainly lucky to have them for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And they are so spectacular and so star, like they are a star
Yeah,
winery, and they still have Paso first. It's still
yeah,
it's
yeah,
still
yeah, yeah.
Paso first.
And there's no way anybody who likes any kind of what you go to a Tobin James party, you're like sold. Like, I mean, it's like seven bands. There's like 30 restaurants there. Like it's like 1,500 people. Like he's got glow sticks and fog. I mean, it's crazy.
That's
It
awesome.
is crazy. It is so much fun. It's really a good time.
That is fantastic. So it like popped in my head when you were talking about backtrack, complete off the track back run. So do you know Richard Blade? Do you know?
Richard Blade. I don't know
Yeah.
why that sounds familiar, but I can't place who
So
that is.
he's a DJ. So he is down in LA. He's like in the LA area.
Oh,
Um,
great. Good for him.
and he uh, and I'm gonna blank on the rate, and my sorority sister's gonna kill me, and well, he's gonna kill me. But so at college, we would party with him, and he would come and DJ our like parties and stuff. And my friend, she's like really really good friends with him, and she DJs. In fact, every Saturday since the pandemic, she's been doing a Zoom party every Saturday night. And she's incredible. But like Richard Blade, like it's just those are memories of the LA area. But That's my little name.
Oh, so he was a K-Rock. He was a
K-Rock,
for a long
K-Rock.
time.
Yes,
For a
K-Rock.
long time.
Yeah.
In like its golden era too, like 82 to 2000. I mean, that's
Yeah.
incredible. Wow.
Yeah. So I'll say my age. So I graduated college in 90. So 86 to 90 I was in LA. And Richard Blade was all about it and everything. And yeah, he
Heck
comes on,
yeah.
he comes to the parties with her and things. It's so much, like, it's incredible.
I would love to meet him and have a
Yeah.
drink with him and like talk radio. I mean, can you imagine the stories that guy has? Oh, that's so
Oh,
cool.
absolutely. And he
Oh,
is
I
a
love it.
fun guy. He is a fun guy.
Radio people are pretty fun. I mean, there's some weirdos, but they're pretty fun. Radio people are pretty good people.
I think if you have to sit behind a microphone and entertain people that can't see you. I mean, it's one thing to be a comedian, let's say, where like you can fall, like Chevy Chase. Like I'm a huge Chevy Chase fan, right? He is hysterical, but it's all facial. It's all him tripping over things. It's all, what is that? Physical comedy, right? You guys don't have that ability because you're behind a mic. So it's all in your personality. It's all in your voice, how you present yourself. So you guys are a pretty special breed, I think.
That's really cool of you to say that the delivery is key. And also, I mean, one thing I learned, and I'm sure Richard Blade obviously mastered at it, being in a market like that for as long as he was, is that it's really an intimate medium. I mean, yes, you are broadcasting like TV to thousands and thousands of people, but radio does it in a way where it's one-on-one. So it's like when I'm on my radio show or I'm on the Cork Dork, it's like, yeah, it's Chairman, but we're talking to you, Lori.
Right.
We're talking to that person who's listening right there. It's like, so we don't use words like, and you could tell when a person is in a pro or just kind of like one of my biggest pet peeves, I'll listen to a podcast, they'll be like, hey, everybody, or even on Facebook, I say like, hey, everyone. It's like, oh, you got one pair of eyes reading this right now.
Right.
You have one pair of ears listening to you. Talk to them. So we use words like you. Like, so, da-da-da-da, you. And that kind of engagement makes people go, huh? Oh, me? Yeah, And yes, you're talking to a lot of yous, but that's the way that delivery is. And that's why radio has outlasted, I mean, shoot. I mean, we heard it in the 90s with Napster. We heard it in the early 2000s with iPods. What's going to happen podcasts, or what's going to happen Spotify. And obviously radio is changing. I'd be a fool to not see that. I got a podcast. I got other ways to put myself out there as well. But local radio still, for as many decades as they have just wiped it under the rug saying it's going to go away, there's a reason why it still has not, at least as of yet, you know.
Right. So let's talk about that podcast, because I listen to it all the time. All right. So well, you know what? It's Paso. It is Paso at its core, and I promote Paso as much as I can, and I love it. I mean, there's a reason why we, I say settle in Paso, but it's not settle. It's why we chose.
Right now.
Why we chose Paso.
Mm-hmm.
It's an incredible place, and that's what your podcast is, and it's where the wine brings you, or where wine takes you. Okay.
Correct.
And by the way, I was on the 101 yesterday, and actually paying attention, not just like whatever. And I saw a nice big, right by Firestone, there's a nice big
billboard.
Billboard.
I saw the other day. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Audrey was like, look at they got a Where Wine Takes You billboard. Yeah. I know, it's incredible.
Right? And so tell us about it. I mean, you mentioned Chris Toronto, the Paso Wine Alliance, Joel Peterson, all of this stuff. So tell us about how this podcast started. Did they come to you? Was it your idea? Just go full gangbusters with it.
Yeah. So I worked with Paso Wine for a long time with all my stuff on the radio. I've known folks like Chris and all of the executive directors in the last 10 or so years. Joel Peterson, who I've known for a long time in that position now. As everything started coming into focus with COVID in late February, early March of last year, I remember being at the last event I ever went to, and Joel did, it was probably his last event too, and that was the World of Pinot Noir in
Oh,
Santa
okay.
Barbara at the Ritz Carlton, and the Corkers have done their show there for the last 5, 6, 7 years, and it's just it's a great event, it's a fantastic event, and Joel Peterson was there, and we were just catching up at like I think a rosé brunch or something, and we're like, and I know we had kind of like loosely spoke about, and he's been very progressive as he's been on the Paso Wine, as he's been the executive director there, and he's been very like forward thinking. He's a great dude, and we're like, oh, we gotta do something like a podcast and this and that, and we just started like we both felt the fire. We're like, oh my god, I'm down, are you down? We're down. How we do this? Let's do this, and then. From the spring, it evolved a little bit more, and I think our first episode was right around summertime, and we just threw one together. I think it was still kind of like COVID-y, so we did it virtually. And then now what I'm doing is I'm going out and I'm distancing with maybe one or two people, and we're spreading out, and we're doing it in a way that we can do it outdoors and stuff. But I just love having that. Like that's why I'm so thankful to like being able to look at you right now and
Right.
have that like engagement, because I feel it's so important. I do phone interviews all the time with the morning show and stuff, and I would love it's different. It's different. So we're like, let's do it. And Joel Peterson and the Paso Wine Alliance have always been great to work with. Working with them this close and partnering up with them in this way has been super special, and it's been going really well. The podcast is like really taken off. I mean, it's been downloaded more than 10,000 times.
Wow.
It's, I mean, like
Congrats.
yeah, no, like it's we're 16 episodes in, so we're still relatively kind of just getting our feet wet with this. And I mean, again, the people, there's so many great personalities, great stories, great scenes and vibes in Paso that, like, I mean, this well isn't going to run dry anytime soon. And even if you do interview, oh, like they were on the podcast before, like it's still so cool. So we're just having a blast with it. And I'm very thankful that people like you are into it, and folks that don't live in the area but want to visit the area are into it. I couldn't be more thankful and feel blessed over it.
Yeah, I love the podcast, and I mean, I'm in Paso, so like it's home to me, and it's
Yeah.
still you learn something new, or you're here, and it's what I like about it is you're just talking to them.
Yeah.
It's not, and they're just you're just pals sitting down and talking, and that's what's and honestly that's what Paso is.
And it's
You
cool.
could have
Like
never met anybody, and it's still that way.
you'll get comments like, "Oh, I'm, from Newport Beach, and we come up there, or we're a part of like half a dozen wine clubs where we visit up there." But then I'll get like a text from like Janice Denner of like Pelletieri, and she's like, "Oh my God, you said this, that was so funny," or "Great job here, blah blah." I'm like, "Oh my God, like Janice Denner's listening," or like, this person's listening. Yet the industry is involved, yet also this is a calling card to bring people to Paso, because there's
Right.
obviously so much to share. And so it's kind of cool to see both of those people really digging in and finding the different things that they like about it.
Right. And now, so I have to share your last episode had Jeremy Leffert on it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, Jeremy is our consultant winemaker. I
Awesome.
love Jeremy.
Yeah, great choice.
I am a big believer of gut feelings and aura type thing and things like I'm a little out there with that. So like I am a
Yeah.
believer of what I can read people pretty well, and what if my gut says then see ya.
Right.
And honestly, because I'm from the East Coast, I don't feel I need to
East
explain
Coast.
to you. I don't need to explain
Right.
to you why you're but I'm just going to tell you, no, we're a no go. The first time I met Jeremy, I was in love. I was in love. I love his attitude. I love his just how he approaches everything. Just his whole entire personality and his whole, I'll say it again, his whole aura is incredible. And then when you just tack on the fact that he's a killer winemaker, is just like is a whole other additional sidebar thing.
Yeah.
Like,
And what's cool about Jeremy right now, Jeremy Leffert, the winemaker for Tooth and Nail, and he consults for some really good wineries like yours. But what's so cool about him right now is he is feeling it. He is in a great spot, and you heard in that interview, he is excited about his crew, where he's at,
Yep.
where he's at in the macro and the micro. Like, he is just happy right now. And we talked about that idea of like happy wine comes from a happy cellar,
Absolutely.
just like happy food comes from a happy kitchen. And like my girlfriend says, happy eggs come from happy chickens. Like, you have to have that kind of foundation there. And you're right, he's good people. He is just good people for sure.
Yeah, he is. I day one.
Yeah.
We've been with him since 2013, our first vintage. So we were with him when he moved to the workshop, which is not there anymore.
I remember that, right?
So like we've our 2013 vintage, which I also got a 92 in Wine Enthusiast. What like
nice.
that wine moved like 5 different times in between it going in barrel and us finally being able to bottle it. And the paperwork of we're in slow, we're in Paso, we're in slow, we're in, like back and forth. And Jeremy just like all good.
Yeah.
Like he's got it. And I love his dogs. I tell him, I'm like, Jeremy, I love you, but you've got to bring the dogs.
Yeah.
But
and he's a musician. He's just got so many aspects of his vibe that are just so endearing. And he's one of the folks that you just feel lucky to, be friends with and meet and get to know. And he's killing it over tooth and nail. Like, I mean, they're doing a great job. He's doing a great job. So it's really exciting to see. And you mentioned that episode that he was in, of Where Wine Takes You, and he really gets into like his history, like where he came from, what he's about, and it's a really good history. It's really cool. So I would encourage folks who haven't checked it out. And that's one thing that I'm really excited about these episodes is like you can go back to episode 2, 3, or 4, and they're not like dated or like they're still fresh. Like, oh, there's Gary Eberly, there's Jordan Fiorentini, my winemaker crush from Epic. Like there's Eric Jensen from Booker. Like they're playing really well, even if you go back to the old ones. So it's really cool.
Yeah, and that it's definitely, there might be a statement here or there, like we talked about COVID for like 2 seconds, but the entire podcast is just Paso people talking about Paso and their love of wine. And I mean, you can 2 years, 3 years down the road from now, somebody can go back and find that Jeremy Leffert podcast, and it would, and you know what? I'm going to say 10 years from now, Jeremy's still going to be happy wine, happy meat, like all of this stuff. He is just,
I bet you're right.
He is definitely good people. So,
indeed.
Yeah. So you are 16 episodes in. Right? And you're doing it bi-weekly?
Yeah, we're publishing them bi-weekly. Okay. Towards the end of last year, I was doing a little conversation with someone and then another conversation with someone and then kind of like vignetting them together.
Oh, okay.
The last several episodes, I've been doing the conversations with the guests together, and I really enjoyed that. I think the guests have enjoyed that. Like the one that's going to come out next, and I don't know when this is publishing, but I know that we're going to have an episode very soon with Chris Cherry of Via Creek and Carol McDonald from Il Cortile and La Cosecha. And like just watching them, like sometimes I just be like,
I'll just
listening to them.
I'll just drink. You guys go ahead.
Like they're just going, and Carol was so verbose and like had so much to offer. It was great. And Chris is just, he's never short of opinion. He's always great. Always great. So it's like I was just super enthralled. Like, I get to sit and watch both of these greats talk to each other back and forth, and I get to record it. Like, this is so cool,
Yeah, and I was actually going to say that. Like, I noticed that, and I was assuming it was more COVID related because, as you said, like even if I don't put this on YouTube or whatever, I always say I want to do. Because I do have people who say they don't want to be on camera. I'm like, all right, then it doesn't go on camera. But this, you can't get this on a telephone call.
No, you're right.
You interact with people, and the beginning ones, you were still interacting with people, but it was you interacting with this person and then you interacting with this person where like, and especially the one with Jeremy, like, and Robert Hall, like there's a history between them. So it was a trifecta of conversation, you know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. That's totally right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just going to say, I love your game. I love your game. I play along with you guys every time.
Do you really? The wine game?
I do. The wine game every time. And I go down now. So our winery is on the east side. So I always start off with the east side. You guys all start off with west side. Like, so I'm like, I would kick ass in this game because you guys are all on the west side.
Maybe at the end of this broadcast, we should play the wine game because, I mean, what Lori's talking about is this wine game where it's really easy. You just kind of go in a clockwise fashion. You name wineries. You could say California, Paso. We do Paso on the podcast for obvious reasons, and go. You just can't repeat one that's been said, and you can't pause longer than 3 seconds and throw some game show music and buzzers on there, and it's fun, and it gets to you. It's like, oh my god, but it's fun. It's cool.
Yeah, I'm not. Well, that's the other thing is I'm walking my dog or driving my car while I'm playing the game. There's not the pressure of having it in there. But what it reminds...
Well, we should do it here before we get off. We should do it here. You down?
Well, yeah. What it reminds me of is a few college drinking games categories. Did you? I'm older. I think I'm older. I'm older than you are. I'm an old fart. But categories. That was what it was. Like you would do a thing, and there would be a category, and like somebody would say, "This show you the day." Like Brady Bunch episodes. And then you would have to go around the circle and say Brady Bunch episodes.
Oh, I love that.
And if you repeated a Brady Bunch episode or you waited too long, you had to drink.
I love that.
Right? And
games were fun.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, totally. I love that. That's fun. That sounds fun.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so let's talk. Let's tell them again how they can find your podcast, how they can find you, and of course, how they can find the Paso Wine Alliance, which is sponsoring the podcast.
It's executive produced by Paso Wine. It's all about Paso Wine. The website is pasowine.com. It's super easy. I think they're on Facebook, Paso Robles Wine, on Instagram, Paso Wine. You just type Paso Wine into your browser. It's going to come right up. And really, if you are, viewing or listening to this from outside the Central Coast area, it's a really good go-to before you make your trip up here. And a lot of wineries we've talked to, they're doing appointments. And although, some of them will try and take you walk in if they can, to make your appointment, it really benefits you too. They set you up. A lot of these places, they got your name card right there. It feels super special. And they take great care of you when you're here. So pasowine.com. As far as the podcast, Where Wine Takes You, it is available anywhere you get your podcast. So on your smartphone with your, if you got an iPhone, go to your podcast app. Google, Droid, same thing. We're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher. Just go search for it. You can totally find Where Wine Takes You. And then me, I'm on, Facebook and Instagram. It's great because at Instagram, I'll put a lot of pictures like, from, maybe recording or things like that. So it's at Adam on the Air, pretty easy. And and that's how you find me too. But I would love people to go check out the podcast. It's been a lot of fun. And then, of course, the stuff I do on the radio, like crush925.com for what the Cork Dorks do. And then my morning show, coast1045.com, up and Adam in the morning. So there's a lot of ways to find out all the ways I'm messing around for sure.
You're kind of a busy guy.
You know what? I have a good, before we go, and I'm sensing, I don't know if we're about to wrap up, but I have a good East Coast story for you.
Absolutely.
So my mom grew up in Hamburg, New York.
Okay.
And so around Buffalo, and moved to California.
Smart girl.
Moved as an older kid, like in grade school. And I was working as a telemarketer in my late teenage years, one of my first jobs. And there was this one dude who had a hot dog cart in Westlake Village, and he had the Sabrette umbrella. And this dude was like straight New York City. He was incredible. He was the nicest guy. He'd give free hot dogs to the cops. And I would do my lunch breaks down there because he was such a cool dude. And these hot dogs would snap, and they were so amazing. Mm-hmm. I'm like, damn. And then all of a sudden, and I would tell my mom about him. She's like, "Oh yeah, those are the Sabrettes. We had them in New York." She's like, "Do they snap? Blah blah blah." I'm like, "Oh my god, they totally do." And so I've always fell in love with that, the East Coast hot dogs, this and that. So fast forward to, now I haven't had a Sabrina hot dog, like a real one, in like forever. And I'm talking to my girlfriend about it. I just had a birthday a couple weeks ago, and she ordered like the real Sabrina hot dogs that go to like the hot dog carts,
Oh,
like the
nice.
legit ones, right?
Nice.
And then ordered like some knishes and the whole thing. And we just had like a couple little. They sent us way too many because you have to buy them in bulk. I gave some to some like Jeremy and some friends, but we had like the real, and I cooked them like the way they do on the hot dog carts. And oh my god, they were so good. A knish.
Oh my god,
like
you're making me drool.
The Sabrettes.
Oh yes, there is nothing there. Well, you know what? Next time you have to look up Thumann. So Thumann. You like the snap? Thumann has that snap. Like it's a bigger snap.
Really?
Like, oh yeah.
Now my girlfriend's from Maine. She's from Saco, Maine. Went to school at Bar Harbor, but she's always talking about like is it Red Hot or something with an R that she swears by? And I don't know. I mean, with her, it's all about seafood because she's from Maine and lobsters and stuff. But
as a hot dog,
funny.
Red Hot?
No, not red. The Red Hot's not the right word. It was something with a red, but I don't remember what it was. I'm gonna look up Thumann.
Because Red Hot is like a Chihuahua. Kind of like a...
Oh, okay. Then I'm getting it wrong. I'm getting that part wrong. But it was something with an R in it. Anyway, she was telling me like, oh, well, because Maine and Boston are kind of like, eh. And I know they don't like New York, but they're all kind of that New England thing. They have like their own thing, not Sabrettes, and it's so funny. But I was just like, what I want to find is maybe you can help me out. I want someone to send me some real East Coast bagels. Because I know we can't get them here.
No, oh God! You know what? I miss that so much. So
yeah, so does she.
So much. They are so. It's the water. I don't know. It's the only thing I can think of. It's the only thing. Yeah. I mean, that's what they say. It's the water. But yeah. In fact, my husband and I were watching TV the other night, and a commercial came on for a bagel shop, like a local thing, bagel shop, and we both looked at it each other like. That looks like legit bagels. Like, but the commercial was too fast. We couldn't find who the bakery, who the bagel shop was. We're like we stopped dead, stared at each other, like, oh my god, they look like legit bagels. Yeah. Well, you know what? Next time I go home, I will be sure to grab some, and because you can freeze them. You freeze them, and that's the best thing. You freeze them. You take them out like 10 minutes before you want it. Pop right open. Best stuff ever. Yeah.
So I got a few. We ate all the knishes. I got a few more Sabrettes.
There you go.
And then she got some pretzels too. We haven't even dug into the pretzels.
Oh my god! Like the street vendor pretzels, like those.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh. You know where the best
coolest present ever.
Best pretzels ever. No doubt about it. There was this vendor dude right outside of Madison Square Garden. And I don't know if he beat people up to always get that spot. I don't know how that works, but it was that man's pretzels were the best pretzels. I would come out of a Ranger game and I he would, here you go. He knew. I was like,
see, growing up in LA, you have the hot dog carts, but they're very different. Like they have like the sautéed peppers and onions, and then they're bacon wrapped, hot dogs, and that's kind of like the way they do it in LA, and they're good, but it's nothing like a Sabrette. No, nothing like it.
Snap.
Nothing like
it's all about the snap.
Yeah, it's all about the snap.
Yes, so I promise, because I do bring bagels back when I go back to Jersey and I come back. I'm on the plane with frozen bagels.
It's like people coming back from France with butter. Oh. I stood in line. I stood in line with this gal, and she was in front of me at TSA, and this gal had a backpack full of butter.
Really?
Like, okay. Yeah. Well, the butter in France. I mean, it's like incredible. It's unreal.
Yeah. Well. I came back with, oh my God. We see, this is the problem. We're never going to end this podcast. So.
Sorry.
No. Because this is, oh my God. Canellis. And Jeremy. Oh, and I never remember the name. Do you know where he gets them from? They're in Slow. I think it's not Paso. But he'll go, I got you Canellis, or Canelés, I should say, the correct way of saying it. But that's what I came back with, Canelés and macaroons. Forget the butter, man. When I came back from Bordeaux, I was doing the Canelés and the macaroons. I'll take them, please.
So Slow has a new macaroons place called Monica's Macaroons that just opened up a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
They're nuts. Yeah. They're nuts.
Right.
Like, it's going to be your next best thing to getting them in France. Like, they're great.
All right. I'll be heading down because they are so good. So good. But anyways, but I want to thank you. I had a blast talking to you. I hope you had a good time.
Much fun. You did a great job. Thank you for the conversation and making me feel so welcome. It was great. It was really a lot of fun, and we could have done it for a lot longer, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to do a part 2. We'll have to do a part 2.
I'm in, sure.
Yeah, maybe the next time it'll be when we can actually physically be in the same room together. And
I know, and cheers each other.
Yeah, well, I'm empty, so I got a little swig left. So I will say slancha, because that is how I always end it. And I am looking forward to tasting that pick pool. So make sure you save me one of those heavy bottles. I can do bicep curls with them when it's empty. So
consider it done.
Have a great weekend. Well, you have a phenomenal weekend. Enjoy. And I'm so happy we got to do this. And I see a part 2 in the future. I do.
I would love that. Thank you for having me, Lori. Cheers.
Have a great night. Slancha.
This has been another episode of Exploring the Wine Glass. Thanks for listening. If you have suggestions on what topics you would like me to discuss, please reach out on social media. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as Exploring the Wine Glass. I am also on LinkedIn as Lori Hoytbud. Of course, you can always email me at exploringthewineglass@gmail.com. If you enjoyed what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe to help others find me more easily. And most importantly, tell your wine-loving friends, because if you like the podcast, they will too. Music is Wine by Kevens. Until next week, slancha.
I want it like glass.